happiness, more specifically, the pursuit of happiness. Now, this has been a question as old as time, with theologians, scholars, and philosophers attempting to answer the question for centuries. Everyone has a differing view: God, money, family. But there isn't exactly a strong, concrete answer. However, the true life story of Chris Gardner does a phenomenal job of portraying its namesake, the pursuit of happiness. The movie starts off with Chris dropping his son Christopher off at daycare, immediately showing us his struggles financially, as it is obvious that this daycare is a budget option. This then leads to him going to work to let his girlfriend Linda know that he cannot pick up their son due to his job, selling bone density scanners to hospitals. These devices are the Gardners' livelihood, as they had spent their life savings on these scanners, just for the realization that hospitals found the devices unnecessary and expensive to slap them in the face. This creates a lot of tension in the family. Between Chris's struggling sales and Linda's dead-end job, Chris decides to pursue a career in stockbroking, only furthering the aggressiveness between the couple. Eventually, Linda leaves them for New York in hopes of finding a job. After this, the Gardners' future looks bleak. Chris falls further down, struggling to pay taxes, motel fees, and eventually the two move into a shelter. Chris is tired all the time, working like a dog during his internship, leaving early to pick up Christopher, getting in line at the shelter, and studying well into the night. Eventually, his hard work and determination pay off though, landing himself a job at Dean Witter, and the movie closes shortly after, leaving a warm, fuzzy feeling in the hearts of the audience. Appropriate to the name, happiness is a recurring theme throughout this film, and Gardner's progress along this line is beautifully portrayed. We first see it mentioned in the poorly spelled lettering in front of the son's daycare, which is a little funny nod to the movie's title. The first real significance of happiness, however, happens a little later, as Chris comes across a man with a red Ferrari. It's here that he is introduced to the world of stockbroking, and Chris notes how happy every employee seems. As the story moves along, Chris and Linda's relationship continues to spiral, and eventually she tells Chris over the phone that she has plans to take their son and leave. Chris then, as the narrator, reflects on Thomas Jefferson and the Declaration of Independence, where he notes how Americans are entitled to freedom, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Chris then starts thinking about if there even is such a thing as real happiness, or if he would just spend forever chasing it. The next day, Chris tracks down Linda dropping their son off at school, and she tells Chris, "No, I am not happy anymore." It's here that we start to see a little bit of her pursuit of happiness. Chris then goes to pick up Christopher from daycare, where he asks his son if he's happy. Christopher says yes, and Chris echoes the saying, "If you're happy and I'm happy, then that's a good thing, right?" The scene carries heavy weight, as this is the start of Chris's next season in life, a time in which he is living in contradiction. To the audience, it is clear that he is in a rough patch, yet he continues to put on a face in order to keep his son content. Linda then reveals how she plans to pursue her happiness. She tells Chris about her plans to move to New York City in pursuit of a job, leaving Chris and Christopher alone. While she never mentions happiness, this is clearly her way of chasing it. Chris's happiness becomes an afterthought at this point, as he is just struggling to survive. Finally, after months of struggle, Chris is greeted with the news that he has been chosen out of the 20 interns for the job. His eyes begin to fill with tears, and the audience is able to sense the relief he feels. Chris then runs onto the street, where he announces that he finally experienced his happiness. Through this entire process, Chris learns a lot about what happiness eventually means to him. Originally, he tied happiness to the successful careers and luxurious lifestyles that he envisioned stockbroking to be. But by the end of the film, he realizes what true happiness is. Even before he lands the job, he takes the time to take Christopher to the beach, and in the very last scene, we see him walking with Christopher, sharing a lighthearted, joyous conversation. Here we can see that Chris really does find happiness in his son. When he lands the job, he hasn't been paid anything yet. He still is poor, yet he finds happiness in his success. He knows that his hard work has paid off. Every night spent in the shelter, every frantic search for a dollar, has paid off. He found out what happiness really meant to him, persevering even when life is rough. I've watched this movie several times, yet every time I walk away, just as well-spirited as the first time. This movie is almost contrasting in the sense to The Great Gatsby, as Gardner does achieve the American dream whilst also finding happiness. But rather than his happiness being rooted in money, his contentment comes from his achievements and his son.